Welcome back, everyone, and thanks again for joining us here on KXAN News at 4. You know, we've been tracking chances for a wintry mix affecting some of our area, and we really want to focus on that phrase. It really does mean a mixture of precipitation types.
Yeah.
So Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannin is breaking all this down for us to explain how these develop.
Yeah, well, all of these wintry mix types are all dependent on temperature. But it's not just the temperature down here at the surface, but the temperature higher in the sky could have an influence as well. There are four primary types of precipitation. We've got rain, where the air is above freezing from the clouds down to the ground, or at least a thick enough layer of warm air near the ground that anything that falls into that layer melts. Freezing rain, which is what we're most concerned about here tomorrow into early Friday, is when the layer a little above the surface up into the clouds is actually pretty warm, but we've got a shallow layer of cold air, sub-freezing air down near the ground, so that rain falls into that layer. It doesn't have time to freeze into a particle of snow or even sleet, but instead it falls down to the ground as rain. However, the ground itself is below freezing, so it freezes on contact, turns into this icy glaze of a mess. Now, sleet is when that cold layer down to the ground is actually a bit deeper, so liquid precipitation falls into that layer, and it has longer to freeze before it hits the ground, and it bounces once it hits the ground. And then snow, of course, is when you've got cold air all the way up in the clouds, and it stays cold, meaning below freezing, all the way down to the ground. Actually, it can be slightly above freezing at the surface, and you can still get snow to reach the ground. And the reason that we're most concerned about the bridges and overpasses and elevated surfaces when we've got temperatures like this is that the ground that's in contact, or the surfaces in contact with the ground, will hold on to the heat longer. But the cold air that passes above the bridges also passes below the bridges as well, surrounding the bridges and overpasses with cold top and bottom. That allows those bridges and elevated surfaces to cool more quickly and therefore ice up more quickly. So that's what we'll be watching here tomorrow especially. This is how it looks from our Lorenz and Lorenz 360 cam from Westlake Hills. We are full of the clouds. The clouds have come first. Next up, the wintry precipitation. We're already seeing that here off to the west of us. And remember, blue is snow. The pinkish color is the freezing rain or sleet. And then, of course, varying colors for rain. The darker those colors get, typically the heavier the rain will be. And that precipitation is just going to keep working its way into central Texas overnight and into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So let me show you that local view so you can figure out what's going to happen where you are, because even just a few miles may make a difference from just a plain cold rain to some of you getting freezing rain. We think through the next few hours, through just about midnight, we're all dry. No worries here this evening. Your evening travel plans will be fine. Now, between 3 a.m. at the earliest, 9 o'clock at the latest, we'll see showers arriving. These will mostly be in the form of rain in the green here, but then you start seeing some of that pink mixing in the hill country. That's likely freezing rain and not as much in the way of sleet. Now, these locations, Mason, Gillespie, San Saba, Llano, Burnett counties, Lampasas, even Blanco counties, are most likely to see the freezing rain. But it is certainly possible we could get a little bit of very light freezing rain in far western portions of Williamson, Travis, and even Hayes counties. The trend through the day tomorrow will be more and more of us turning over to plain cold rain, even if you start off the morning with a freezing rain. And it is going to be a soaking wet second half of the day tomorrow for you. So even if the rain takes some time to get going, the afternoon downpours, even a few isolated thunderstorms, just kind of gross tomorrow afternoon. Now, while most of us still holding on to just plain rain Thursday afternoon, there may still be a few spots in the hill country that are dealing with a mix. And then it's mostly rain Thursday evening with that low chance for a mix in a few spots in the hill country. And then we'll be tracking the first few hours of Friday morning. As this rain comes to an end, we may see it flip over a little bit for maybe 30 minutes over to snow. You can see our computer models just north of this banner, bringing in that blue color on the very back edge. While this model doesn't bring that snow into central Texas, I've seen others that do. It may just be a few wet flakes on the very back end of the precipitation, but it's something to watch out for. Friday should be a cloudy day, a mostly dry day. There may be a few sprinkles or flurries that fall during the middle of the day. They wouldn't amount to anything. So the ice forecast is the most important. There's the potential that in parts of the hill country, we could get up to 1/1500ths of an inch of ice, but not all of you in this area would see that. Farther east and southeast, those amounts drop to less than 1/10 of an inch, but that does include some parts of the western sections of Williamson, Travis, and Hayes counties, and anything in the metro near I-35 as far as icing would go would be super spotty and pretty unlikely at this point. You may see some flakes here Thursday into Friday morning. Most likely accumulating snow, though, would be in northern San Saba County, and we all see soaking rain out of this too. 1 to 2 inches of it from most of the hill country through the metro into our eastern counties. We could get even some localized amounts even higher than that. So your forecast tonight, down to 34 in Austin, so staying above freezing at Camp Mabry. Scattered showers arriving really late in the night, and of course we can get that wintry mix in the hill country. And then it's a cold rain for most of the day tomorrow, but that potential for an icy mix to the west. Temperatures are going to do some weird things. They'll start in the upper 30s, drop a bit to the mid 30s, and then they may start to climb slightly tomorrow evening. But all things considered, it'll be mostly in the mid to upper 30s all day long. A chilly, wet day. Friday we dry out. We're up to 42 and breezy. Sunshine Saturday, 56. 60 on Sunday. Then a cold front knocks us down into the 50s early next week.